and welcome to an edition of Let's Play. I'm your host, Nick Legato. We are going to be playing through a very epic game, a very good game. It is known as Final Fantasy III in the US. It was Final Fantasy VI in Japan, but it is now, it finally got it correct. It is Final Fantasy VI, but we are playing the original release. This is Final Fantasy VI, ignore the 3. And this is a game that came out in the early 90s, and, well, 94 to me is the early 90s, and did very well. It's argued to be one of the best Final Fantasies of 4 Final Fantasies that are in the top bracket of best games ever, which would be Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy IX, 10, and 4 are considered to be the best Final Fantasies of all time. So definitely look at this. I'm doing this version specifically because it's a Ted Woolsey version, which has a lot of errors in it. So that's why it deserves to be played. As you can see, I was just doing a basic test, but we are going to do a new game. We're going to save over that one because I don't care for it anymore. Long ago, the War of the Magi reduced the world to a scorched wasteland, and magic simply ceased to exist. 1,000 years have passed. Iron, gunpowder, and steam engines have been rediscovered, and high technology reigns. The Magitech Dildo by Blammo. But there are some who would enslave the world by reviving the dread destructive force known as magic. A Ted Woolsey incident, the dread destructive, I think it's the dreaded destructive, or the dreaded destructive. So you'll see a little bit of that, but he changed a little bit of the content to suit an American cast, which ended up ultimately being the wrong thing to do. Can it be that those in power are on the verge of repeating a senseless and deadly mistake? I see the stick of evil looking at me. Stick of evil! And there comes the main group. I'm a robot killing machine. Yeah. There's a town. There's the town. You know, this is supposed to be Biggs and Wedge, but I think this is another Ted Woolsey, you know, I know what I'm doing moment. Where this was, Vix is supposed to be Biggs, but we're not going to get too particular on that. And this woman, this sorcerer, who is she? Slave crown. You know, I need to buy me a slave crown. I got some people who I want under my control to do my very bidding. My very bidding. Now, there's lots of different ways to pronounce certain names and places in this game. I'm going to do my best to not satisfy the politically correct because I could care less. So, while they're doing this famous walk scene, and if heaven forbid I don't show it, I'll get yelled at by some mad gamer. This is the intro. A little bit about Final Fantasy itself. Final Fantasy III was obviously 3. It came out on Super Nintendo as Final Fantasy III in the US, and it changed over to in Japan. It was originally Final Fantasy VI. It's the last Final Fantasy to grace the Super Nintendo, and probably the best looking one to face the Super Nintendo. It's been battled heavily that 6 and 7 are the 2 greatest Final Fantasies of all time. And if you want my personal opinion, I still think 6 has the superior storyline and the much more vast concept of characters. You have to remember Final Fantasy 6 and 7 have 2 different followings, all in all. You have people who have played Final Fantasy 6. People who've usually played Final Fantasy 6 are older and have played Final Fantasies that predate 6. They grew up playing Final Fantasy 6. A lot of the fans who've played Final Fantasy 7, that's probably their first RPG they've been introduced to, or it's the Sony PlayStation is their first or second console. You know, so they didn't have a lot of influence from older games, and you would think because of Final Fantasy VI Anthology that playing the remake might give the proper translation, might actually make the game better, but it really didn't. So it's something to consider if you are a big fan of the series. Is a lot of people, you know, most Final Fantasy VII lovers gamers, not most of them, but a good chunk of them, are just, they're fanboys. And the term fanboy is they like it and nothing else will ever be better than it. Because even if it was better than it, it will never be. So it's always some kind of thing with them. You'll never be able to break them of their love for Final Fantasy VII, which, unfortunately, I hate to say it, there are better games than Final Fantasy VII out there. I like Final Fantasy VII. I thought it was a great Final Fantasy. Is it the best game RPG of all time? That's for debate. Yeah, there's no point in taking risks. Let's put this broad forward. Let's move everybody in the back row, because they all use beam attacks. So, why take extra damage when we don't have to? Alright, let's march along. Called me a swine. I'll burn you in the third ring of hell. And we're being attacked by a Lobo. I easily fought battle. As you can see, she has magic spells. Interesting. And we won that battle. I'm not going to show every battle. I'm doing it now for the sake of... Obviously, these are story-driven battles. And, you know, may as well show story-driven battles. Why not? I'm going to try and do all of the special skills here, so transfer. Fire, it burns! Like a bad case of herpes. Oh, it didn't work. Exfer is it's very similar to another spell in the game, but we're not going to worry about that. Yay! Biggs and Wedge gained a level. His name is Biggs. It's like how I'm calling this Final Fantasy VI, not Final Fantasy III. Thank you, Ted, for getting paid a shit ton of money to do a piss poor job. And you know, some people say I'm being a little harsh, and I don't think I am. I think when you do a bad job, or when you do a mixed job, I have every right to be angry. But you have to remember, back in the day, Final Fantasy was not super popular when it first came out. It was an RPG that was out, but even Earthbound, being another one of the Super Nintendo all-time greats, was kind of shunned upon. So, you know, there is some concept of reality when it comes to those games. Not reality, but there is a concept of yes and no. There is a concept of, you know, why wasn't Final Fantasy VI popular? Because RPGs in America were not hugely popular back in the early 90s. They weren't even known to be called JRPGs until the late 90s. So there you go. We just called them RPGs. It's an RPG. I don't care. Is it an American one? I don't know. It's an RPG. That's all I care about. You know, so the whole kind of mixed concept of RPGism, you know, or whatever you want to call it. RPGism. Yeah, we'll take that, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Fighting, throw out heal force fighting, because somebody needs it. So, as you can see, this beginning of Final Fantasy starts off with Mucho Overpowero. They need to remake this for the DS like they did with Final Fantasy IV. They did a pretty good job with that remake. I was satisfied with how that turned out. A lot of people some people didn't like it because it was too hard. I thought, good. It felt like I was playing a different game all over again. It was so much fun. So much fun. As you can see, we are walking here, and it's just a bunch of predefined battles. We have no real power. Okay. And then we're gonna have her use Bioblast. I like the way this Bioblast looks. Later you acquire the ability to do Bioblast, but it doesn't look as cool as this. They should have made it look the same, but oh well. You should kill everything there, and we're back at full health as well. Yay! Biggs and Wedge gained a level. They gained a freaking level. Oh god, they leveled. Alright. Oh, when I mentioned about showing the random battles, I will show very few random battles as we progress through the game. I will show the battles regarding new enemies. So if there's a battle with a new enemy that you haven't seen before in it, I will show that battle. Okay. So anyway, 3 Weir Rats. Now, the first thing you might do if the unknown fighter gets to go first is, oh, I'll use Bioblast. Well, unfortunately, they absorb poison, so don't waste your time. Just hit them with the required spells. Fire. Kill it with fire! Yeah. Die. Violent, rageful death. 21 experience, 1 tonic, and we are back. So, yeah, you will see little hiccups in the game. That's me turning it on and off for random battles. I don't have a smooth way of doing it, so I do apologize. We're not high-tech over here, buddy. We're just standard tech use, you know. You want to offer some advice about doing that? By all means, I accept all kinds of advice. Just don't tell me that your sister is a freak. I don't care. You know, did the whole long-distance relationship thing. Never works out. Never works out. Until they invent the 3D sex, you know, site. Nah, never mind. We're not going to get into this discussion. It's a good discussion, but not for now. If you haven't figured it out yet, I have a pretty twisted sense of humor. But it's for the good of the country. For the good of the country! Yeah. Anyway. Boom! Putting himself to use, throwing his good old-fashioned weight around, and they're not going to hand over the Esper. Get the milk! This is our first semi-useful boss fight. Now, the thing about Final Fantasy games, if you've never played one, or if you've tried playing one and you think, oh, it's just a bunch of hack-and-slash bosses, which Final Fantasy VII had a lot of, compared to other Final Fantasies anyway. This is not a hack-and-slash boss. This is a boss that requires, heaven be forbid that I say it, a strategy. So we're going to open up this battle with Tech Missile on the head. Probably don't have enough time to throw another one out, but we'll try. But what he will do is he will take his head and put it in his shell, and then he will be immune from damage. But the shell has actually, surprisingly, has a health bar of its own. The shell has 50,000 HP. So if you really are a true fanboy and want to waste time doing that, you can go ahead and do that. We're not going to do that. Killing the shell grants you no major experience bonus. All the shell killing really does is give you a potion, so have fun with your potion. The killing the head gives you a Tentacure, so yeah, have fun with that. But right now, as you can see, we're waiting out for him to remove the head from the shell, and that is the sign of shell revival. So now we're going to just bum rush the shell. Let's just hit him as hard as we can. I think you do this, you maybe have to do this 2 or 3 times, and then it's a pretty cinch fight from there on. Booyah! The fire! And there he goes. Not a hard boss, but if you shoot the shell up a lot, he could be hard. The only problem is he only has enough MP to cast Mega Volt 6 times or so, so there's a heads up for you. Not a tough boss fight, and we got a potion out of it anyway. Oh, oh no, it was a Tentacure you get from the body. So, let's move on. Running. Random battle. Oh my god, and it's a new enemy. They absorb electricity, so don't use the bolt beams. Okay, so, for the most part, next time on Let's Play Final Fantasy VI, we will find the Esper in the back of the cave. And who is this? Treasure Hunter Ahoy? He's such a liar. Anyway, we'll see you guys then.